Hello, and welcome to State of Our Workforce Unpacked, where we will dig deeper into the incredibly impactful work our network partners are doing across the country. My name is Henry Danner, and I'm the manager of network engagement at Shift Work Forward. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Dee Manyama, initiatives director at Prosper. Together, we're going to get to know Prosper, who's one of our newest network partners out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll hear more about the impact they're making in Birmingham and explore what they hope to learn by being a Shift Work Forward network member. Dee, this is probably my second or third time seeing you. It's good to see you again. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me, and good to see you too.
Thank you, thank you. I'm happy to have you joining us. You're one of our newest network partners, as I mentioned, and I would love to get to know you more and also help our viewers and our listeners get to know a little bit more about your organization. So, why don't we just start at the ground level? Can you share with us what people need to know about Prosper to understand the role that the organization plays in building a thriving and inclusive local economy in Birmingham?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Prosper is 5 years old. We just celebrated with a wonderful summer soiree this June, and we were built on a fairly specific conviction, which is that small businesses are the drivers for this economy. I mean, like a lot of small towns, most of our workforce is employed by the local mom and pops, the small businesses with, up to 200, Lord, 20 to 200-ish employees. But that's
Hmm.
really the sweet spot for our economy. And so we work primarily to support that that ecosystem, that community of people, and that includes the workers, the cradle to career, the education system that builds folks into our business economy, and
Hmm.
that's what Prosper basically does. We really are driven by the understanding that where talent is widely distributed, opportunity isn't necessarily. So we want to make sure that everyone has a means to job creation, job preparation, job access, which is kind of our mantra as we go into our work.
Cool, cool. Also, happy belated birthday, 5 years. That's amazing.
It's our
Congrats.
prosperversary, is what we call it.
Prosperity. I love it. So continuing in that train of thought of understanding, what your organization's foundational principles are, can you tell us about what your focus areas are? And if you could, maybe also highlight one of your initiatives currently that's driving your work in these focus areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Our focus area is our people. Birmingham's really people focused, people
Mhm.
first is our city's tagline. And so we kind of follow that same understanding that when we put people first, when we put communities first, then that's where our focus should be. And that looks like really answering questions. Do the jobs exist? Are people prepared to take them, and then how do we match those two things and make sure that people have access? Again, that job creation, preparation, and access pillar is our focus in everything that we do. And then an initiative right now that really kind of pours into that is our small business alumni network, and that was born out of investing in local opportunities, programs for small business owner, our organizations, because we don't have a lack of opportunity, or we don't have a lack of programming for our small businesses. But then once those cohorts and those classes are done, people were facing a cliff of, okay, what happens next?
Mhm.
I have all of this information, but now what do I do with it? And so our Small Business Alumni Network, or SBAN as we call it, is really an opportunity to build tables and make sure that there's community around businesses that have participated in programming previously, so that they're not left to their own devices. And we're actually forming connective tissue that can be lasting beyond, a one-off program or having the information that they need. What do you do with it? It's been
Mhm.
that.
Nice, nice. You've alluded to this a few times in so far about the focus on small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I see that all throughout your work. You know, as you have it laid out on your website and in communications, and it just made me curious. Like, what propelled the organization into centering the needs of this segment of the workforce? Is there something about Birmingham that this rose to the top as like a need? Can you help us just like dive a little bit more deeper into that?
Well, I think that the thing that kind of illuminated for me personally was talking to one of our young entrepreneurs who is going through another program that we have, the Boat Path Fellowship. And the sentiment was that they felt like a rock in the ocean
Mm,
and a rock that most people look past. And we actually did a call out to some of those S-band members. We had, 50 or so people respond, and a lot of them had the same sentiment and expression that it feels like I'm doing this on my own. I'm just out here in the ocean and nobody can see me. But from our vantage point, we know that, there are pebbles all along that beach. And if we can connect them to each other, then really that will be the driver. Again, is the stalwart of our neighborhoods and our communities, and that's the connective tissue that we need. Because even before the pandemic times, I know everything is like pre-pandemic and post, but
yeah.
even before that, we were really kind of siloed in how our businesses operated, our organizations operated, and we know though that a thriving community needs to be connected. We're all one village, and so how do we build those opportunities for people to organically connect and make sure that it's not just we're serving a business, we're serving all of Birmingham.
So D, the small business alumni network, that sounds really interesting, and it sounds like a great example of how you're building that network to help people build a bridge from like learning skills to actually using them. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, like about that group, maybe how it started, and maybe some examples of recent work that it's done together?
Absolutely. So going back to like the origin story of Prosper, we did a lot of reports and kind of digging into our economy to see, okay, what's really going on. And what we found out about our small businesses is that most of them are solopreneurs. And so we really wanted to build up the employer base here in Birmingham. And digging into that, again, most of our owners have less than 20, up to 200 maybe employees. And what we found, especially with our talent pool and kind of our educational pieces, that we're preparing folks, but there was a disconnect between our business owners and the talent that they needed. So like the most of the I guess corrections were around these major employers because we have a huge hospital system. And so we have workforce that kind of aligns with that. But for the small business that has maybe 11 employees, how do they find the workforce that they need, the talent that they need, and compete with this major system at the same time? And then for our workforce as well, they might be ready, but they're again looking for what's big and in front of them. They're not necessarily searching for that small business to pour into, with this young, new, fresh talent, or even some, transitional talent. Like I no
Mhm.
longer want to work corporate. Where do I go next? And so part of SBAN and this Small Business Alumni Network is really not just to create a community amongst the businesses, amongst the technical assistance providers, but also the community so that there's more visibility, so that we can think about things like joined marketing plans to like a food day or whatever it is that they can come up with. I mean, because my creativity is limited, but collectively they have all sorts of ideas that we can do as a community. But somebody needs to set that table, and that's what the Small Business Alumni Network really does. It provides an opportunity for those folks who have the knowledge. Again, they running their businesses, they're making a little bit of revenue, but how do they grow and scale it? How do they market it? How do they set up their HR practices and make sure that they're good places that people actually want to work, and they're not running people off by droves because they think they're doing things correctly and they have no benchmark or, community to balance that against. And so we want to make sure, again, that that connective tissue is there and that people know each other and that they're actually building relationships that, last and make Birmingham altogether a better place.
Cool. I love the focus on everyone sharing expertise and working together, like you said, marketing plans and things of that nature. Things that, like, if you're starting a business or running a business, may seem very foreign to you or just hard to grasp, and like working with others that are doing the same thing. Are there any recent events or anything like that that this group came together to do that? Maybe to work together to sell products or even share, um, strategies or anything like that that you could maybe just talk a little bit about?
We're starting really slow.
Mhm.
Another thing when you're dealing with people from possibly what they consider maybe competing industries a lot of times, to
Mm.
help them understand that we're really all complementary because we're supporting the same neighborhoods. So really, we've started with just ev- like evening kind of mixer events where you can get together and have a drink on us and have a conversation. And then behind that, have some intentionality. So we'll put up a board that, has needs and offerings where they can just kind of write and do some sort of activation. But then we're building up towards co working workshops where we'll have a half day and bring everybody together under three different buckets, let's say capital or talent acquisition or commingled marketing, where we can just sit down together and have intentional conversations about what it looks like to build. So we don't want to like just make people work together, but we do want to provide opportunities where they can organically collide and kind of see the magic that happens, because we know from the past that that has been successful. Like we've had contracts and we've had um, just folks who never knew each other before, live in the same community a lot of times, who meet at
Mhm.
an event and then all of a sudden, oh, they're doing something else, something bigger, something, more interesting. They're having an award celebration because of this, intentional collision.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I love that. You can't force it. You got to, like you said, you set the table, you create the space, and let those relationships and the trust organically come together.
Right.
That's a great strategy.
I will tell you this too. So in a previous life, I used to work with our education foundation. Um,
Hmm.
and a lot of the preconceived notions that people have about each other is because of lack of proximity. So we would have these grand conferences for our students with 300 to 500 students, and then invite business owners and corporate leaders in as volunteers to do mock interviews with the students, to listen to them do a public speaking or a pitch themselves, their 90-second elevator pitch. And what we found is that a lot of the thoughts that folks have about young people is really because of something that they heard or something that they saw on the news, and not because they actually know any young people. And we want to do the same thing with our business owners and our community writ large. Like, just come together and see each other before you decide on who each other are.
I love it. That's really smart, and that's a great. I've worked with youth in the past too, so I certainly understand that those preconceived notions and how they drive, people to collaborate or not collaborate. So that's smart. I love it. Speaking of connectivity and community, shift work forward. That's what we're about. We have a network of workforce collaboratives across the country that are doing similar work to create connections in their local community. So that brings me to what made Prosper join the Shift Work Forward network? And if you could also add, what do you hope to get out of the network about, from being a member, and also what value would you like to add as well?
Sure. So, I mean, we understand that locally, we Birmingham is it, but also as we reach the edge of Birmingham and our network and kind of knowing all of the pieces and people here, we realize that again we're part of a larger network as well. Like we have a
Hmm.
whole nation of folks who are doing the same work, who are hitting some of the same barriers, who are having some of the same challenges, but also achieving some amazing results in their cities. And so we're constant learners and we also have a lot to share. So we wanted to be part of a network nationally to find out what other people are doing in other cities and not just limit ourselves to our own knowledge because we can recreate wheels all day long, or we can go to the tire store and
Hmm.
realize that there are other ways and we don't have to necessarily hit the same walls and continue to build things that are already available. And then because we are building here in Birmingham as well, we want to share that knowledge because I mean we bring the South and that's
Hmm.
we actually had one of our local filmmakers create a movie just all about that southern flair, that creative energy that's here as well. So we want to make sure that the rest of the nation has an opportunity to see what we're doing in Birmingham and then glean from their best practices to build a better Birmingham at the same time.
Yes, yes. I love that. Love that. And we're happy to have you in the network. I got a chance to meet your CEO, JW, and one of the first questions that he asked me was, what does Prosper need to do to be like the best network partner at Shift Work Forward? And I loved his enthusiasm, his competitive nature, all of the above. So we're really happy to have you and looking forward to, you bringing your expertise into the network as well. Um, so the last question I have for you is forward facing. We always like to end with something looking ahead into the future. And, you know, thinking of the next 5 years, what's one milestone or goal that you hope to say Prosper has achieved by then? And bonus points if you could tell me how you think the Shift Work Forward network can help you do that. I added that in, so that's off the cuff.
No problem. So I would say, really, we are thinking again more along a cradle to career kind of longevity mindset where kids that we started working with 5 years ago who were in kindergarten are now in fifth grade. And in
Mhm.
5 years, they're going to be sophomores. And at that time, they're going to be thinking about their career objectives. And we want to make sure that the business owners that we've curated now have access to those kids because that's the next generation of their workforce. And that's the next generation of our communities and neighborhoods. And we honestly, I mean, selfishly, we want to keep them here. And so in the next 5 years, we want to make sure that we have a system that works, that we can prove and not just claim that, we've been doing all of these things, but we want to show and prove that there's actually been progress. And I think that Shift Work Forward can help again with that, just the knowledge and the openness and the larger community can pour into that, and we can make sure that not just Birmingham and Alabama, but our nation as a whole is progressing and moving forward and understanding that we are genuinely all in this together.
Amen to that. Yes, yes. So we hope to be able to help you achieve that, and we'll definitely be sharing the journey along the way, the wins, the challenges, and keeping our supporters and our listeners in our community abreast of your progress. So, Dee, thank you so much for this conversation, for joining us, for introducing Prosper to our world, and it was really good to learn more about the work you're doing and just to be in conversation. So I also want to thank everybody who joined us on LinkedIn to listen to this and view this. Please make sure to follow Shift Work Forward on LinkedIn to stay up to date with all of the latest from State of Our Workforce. Tune in for future episodes where we'll be continuing to explore the future of workforce equity with our network partners on State of Our Workforce Unpacked. So, see you all next time. Goodbye.